This is episode 2 of Citizen Sleeper. One encryption key. Scrap components. Can't I buy more scrap down here somewhere? Okay, I guess not. Let's go help this dude then. A ticket out. Scale the spoke, enter the spoke. I mean, I have a 6, but maybe I don't want to do that. Positive outcome, spoke climber. for passage. To reach the Greenway, you need to pay for pass. A practice invented by the spacers moored here. They call it Founder's Ferry. Okay. Skill upgrade. These familiar threads wrap around you, bind you, test you. Entity submit. Hunter's strange head bobs in your vision. Your ally in the sealed dock cannot save you. In that globed head you see whirling strings of data, so many spinning there that they threaten to tear through the thin skin and whip out into the void around. What happened to this creature? The threads squeeze and you lose any sympathy you might have had. You must escape. Strike. You lash out once more, pushing Hunter back, severing threads that regrow as fast as they are broken. As you slip away, you realize you have to find a way to deal with Hunter once and for all. This is getting too dangerous. Oh, ouch. As you arrive, Feng comes striding towards you, taking you by surprise. Let's go, Sleeper. He puts a hand on your shoulder and turns you back the way you came. Follow his lead. He steps into the passageway, guiding you down rig towards the shipyard. Sorry for the hurry, but we have something of an opportunity. The data you ripped. Well done, by the way, he grins. Tells me Hardin is making a rare inspection of the sidereal horizon this cycle. It's the perfect chance to confront him outside of that compound he hides in. Feng takes a sharp turn onto a dimly lit side passage. Confront him? That's right, it's the perfect time. Feng slows and slips into a dark service tunnel, where somewhere a water pipe drips in the back. It's him, Sleeper, the same Hardin Hurst. Our worm ripped out decades of records that mention him by name, an entire trail of documentation from the first days of the Solheim collapse until now. He rode out the whole thing, slipped into Havenage when it first broke off from the Union. He paces in the tunnel, a hand rubbing at the back of his head. I need you to understand something about Solheim, Sleeper. I don't know what you know about the collapse, but it wasn't as instant as it sounds. It wasn't like Solheim was there, here, running the station one day, and the next Erlin's Union took power. Back then, Solheim knew this place was slipping away from them as the palladium market collapsed. They tried to keep the contractors here working. The pay got smaller, the costs higher. People like my parents were forced to work non-stop just to keep a berth on the station and water in their tanks. Solheim squeezed every last worker until the accidents were coming in non-stop. And as new waves of contractors came in, desperate to work, Solheim welcomed them in, taking bribes instead of checking pilot licenses. The whole time, Solheim was folding up, dragged into court cases in the central systems, where this severed limb of a station still desperately tried to take all it could. The riots came after the collision at Dock 2. A young pilot, his MEV overloaded with palladium, miscalculated his trajectory and took out a section of the ring. Hundreds died, thousands panicked. My parents told me. People were terrified, and the blame fell squarely on Solheim. People like to tell stories about Erlin, how he brought the factions together, spoke to the crowds, turfed out Solheim. Maybe that's true, but my mother, pregnant with me, locked herself in their MEV and welded it to the dock, while my father joined the improvised crews trying to seal up the ragged edges of the gap. He never came back. Feng pauses in the dark. They sealed it up, though, and by the time they did, Solheim was gone, abandoning every one of us to the black, apart. Feng finally turns back to you, now, his eyes burning, from shits like Hardin, shits who held their place, rode it out, and slipped into the new structure like nothing had changed, standing shoulder to shoulder with those who had exploited at every step. Feng starts walking again. That's why I can't let him strut about the shipyard. This time, his past catches up with him. How is he still alive? Clearly, you don't know much about executives. That kind of power comes with certain benefits. Feng rejoins the main passageway, which is now wide and glass-roofed. Though the ceiling you can see ships in mid-construction, their flanks lit by flashes of plasma torches. The entrance to the shipyard is ahead. Let's go. Feng grins. Let's go show this shithead some consequences. He strides to the shipyard entrance and pushes through the door. A web of corridors led through the complex snatches of the construction base, always appearing through windows. Ships are suspended like whale corpses, skeletal imposing. Feng seems to know exactly where he's going, and before long you cross into a huge dry dock, locked to one side of the sidereal horizon. A network of platforms and scaffolding clings to the ship's hull, filled with workers and equipment. The sound is stretched out by the vast space so that the welding, cutting, and sealing seems to come from everywhere at once. Both you and Feng spot them at the same time, a group walking slowly across the gantry. And at the front, two men, one gesturing towards the ship, and the other, stick-thin, cleanly dressed, with a shock of grey hair, Hardin. You and Feng say his name in unison, and Feng sets off on the staircase to the gantry, with you following behind. As you come to the same level, the group is passing closer, the foreman gesturing to the work being done throughout the dock and Hardin nodding along. Hardin Hurst, Feng shouts across the noise, taking you by surprise. His voice bounces and comes back in a rippling echo. The figure turns. Yes? Hardin asks, quizzily. Raising an eyebrow, he glances between you and Feng, and you can see his gaze linger on your body, unsure of why a sleeper might be in this place. You are a traitor, Hardin, a Solheim executive who tried to hide here, among its victims. Feng's voice is steady and strong. You stand for everything the Eye was rebuilt in the shadow of, everything Erlin stood for, everything Havenage stands for. You have no place on this station. For a moment, stillness descends on the group, as if everyone was held in place by the rattle of construction. Hardin laughs. Well, good to meet you too. He glances around at those around him. Some are smiling, the others nervous. You are from the systems branch, are you not? Asks Hardin, inspecting Feng's clothing. Feng turns to the foreman. You need to call your security. This man is a corporate agent. The foreman glances between Feng and Hardin, his hands drumming at his side. Hardin leans towards him and says something inaudible. The foreman nods. It's true. As you begin speaking, Hardin turns his attention to you. And what would a sleeper know about that? You accuse me of being a corporate agent. What are you, if not exactly that? He looks around at the group, who are already eyeing you with suspicion. You are a project of SN Arp. You have no place in a Havenage shipyard. Who knows what signals you are sending back to your makers? A murmur of approval runs through the group. Feng holds up a stick of memory. You guessed right, I am Systems, and I have recorded that link you directly to Solheim right here. He turns to the foreman again. So once again, I'm asking you to take this man into custody of the shipyard. The foreman remains still. Hardin's voice is calm, measured. If you have such data, why hasn't it been submitted at the members' meeting for proper review? He shakes his head. I have nothing to hide, unlike a man who does not announce his name, who enters my shipyard with corporate property in tow, and tries to turn my own men against me. You hear it now, the echoing sound of boots on walkways, coming from all angles at once, and then settling behind you. Please, says Hardin, submit the data through the correct channels, then we can talk. For now, however, you must leave. He gestures behind you to the security detail, their hands on boxy black sidearms at their sides. Feng spits. Hardin, you shithead. You can't wriggle out of this one. A security officer draws the weapons and levels it. Feng turns and stares him down. Go for the weapon. As you move, Feng puts a hand on your shoulder. He shakes his head and nods to security. Let's go, says Feng, and he pushes through security, heading back down the whole walkway. Once security has walked you out of the shipyard and nudged you back into the corridor, Feng picks up pace. You try to keep up and slip into the shadows of an entrance. Oh, Jesus Christ, there's some reading in this game. Feng is grinning ear to ear. You know, Sleeper, sometimes people are exactly how you expect them to be. Something pings in his pocket and takes it out. On a slate, a web of connections starts drawing itself out, stretching to a set of points around the ring. Got him, mutters Feng. What is that? That, Sleeper, is something our worm added to Hardin's personal slate. We're tracking his outgoing messages. Feng's grin looks ghostly in the uplight of the screen. The old ways are best. Spook them good enough and they'll give the game away. He yabs at the slate and you see the web is being drawn over a map of the ring. Lines bouncing from point to point. All these dots, these are Hardin's buddies. The ones he is messaging right now, and we are going to find them all. That was on purpose. Of course, Hardin isn't working alone. We need a full set or nothing. Fang glances around and slips the slate back into his pocket. We better split for now, Sleeper, but this is exactly what we need. Good hunting. With a pat on your shoulder, Fang drifts away, back into the flow of people around the shipyard entrance. You watch him go, unsure whether to be angry or impressed. Well, crap. Buy some scrap. Oh, scrap components, isn't that what I bought? Ship Mind fragment. Okay. Yeah, it was the same. She's asleep, whispers Lem, creeping back out of the unit's tiny bedroom, sliding the door shut as he does. You are perched at a thin bar in the main room, the slate in front of you still glowing with Mina and your drawings from a cycle spent together. There's a ring, the only world Mina has known, with stick figures standing along its edge. The tall one is you. Drink, asks Lem, producing a worn-looking bottle of Giraud from under the bar, its content glowing amber in fluorescent light. Sure. Lem nods and glugs a few fingers into a couple of metal tumblers, then sits down with you at the bar. Cheers, he offers you. He offers, and you clink the metal containers together. You know, we actually have something to celebrate this time around. Lem gives you a sideway look. I made the assembly team on the sidereal. He grins broadly. Clearly he has been desperate to tell you all cycle. I knew it. Lem holds up a drink. You did get there first, friend. I'll give you that. He looks away. Seriously, though, couldn't have done it without you keeping an eye on little Meanie here. Back here. Lem shifts a little on his stool. He looks uncomfortable. How's our girl doing, Sleeper? I haven't seen much of her in these cycles. Doing great. Of course she is. He playfully squeezes your shoulder. She talks about you a lot, you know. Draws you. I'm glad she has a friend that isn't me. His eyes drift to the bedroom door. You okay? He nods. I can't take all the credit for Mina. She isn't actually mine. He gazes into the middle distance. I pulled her out off of a refuge shuttle out on one of Ember's moons. The colony was falling apart for decades after Solheim collapsed, surviving on next to nothing. Eventually, some of the residents tried to make for the eye on those decrepit old shuttles. He sloshes the drink around in his tumbler. They had no idea what they were doing. The one Mina was on, decompressed halfway here, everyone spaced. The only reason she made it was someone sealed her in a weapon locker. She was ice cold when I reached her. Purple lips, shivers. Once I picked her up, I wouldn't let go. The medics treated her, with me still clinging to her. He takes a drink, still not sure why. He reaches over and refills his cup. We weren't exactly anybody's heroes, you understand? We were private military, hired on by Conway to protect their claims in the collapse. But once I got Mina, that was it. I quit. Got us dumped here. You saved me. I'm going to sound like an idiot now, but he sighs. She saved me. That's the truth of it. He looks around the decaying unit, its stained plastic plating and flickering lights. Me, I brought her to this. She was tiny, too small to know what she lost, but I can't stop thinking about it. He rubs his eyes, dark with tiredness. What if our number doesn't come up on the draw, Sleeper? What then? The sidereal will sail off without a thought, leaving us here. What kind of life is that for her? We'll make it. Sorry, I know you don't have it any better. He looks at his cup and pushes it away down the bar. This is celebration, right? Both of us on the team now. Both of us in with a chance. Exactly. Imagine all three of us riding the sidereal horizon out of here to a new world. He looks into his glass for a moment. I think I drank this too fast, he laughs. Lem stands and starts to clear the glasses into the outerwash. I need some sleep, friend. See you around. All right then. He catches your shoulder as you turn to leave. Thank you, Sleeper. I mean it, from both of us. You pass your shoulder and you slip out into the dark hallway with thoughts of little Mina in your mind. go down here and work then. Oh, actually, I need to refill my fucking energy. Starving. Only 2 energy. Fuck. I can't believe you just did that. Ethan's mocking laugh comes from across the bar. You look across to see him leaning across it in a pool of light, empty glasses and spilled liquids glinting all around him. It's always dark in the compressor, but this cycle the place is packed. A load of spacers mixing with the locals. Usually they run. Ethan spins a glass on the bar, or they go spend their savings on some local heavy I have to put down. They don't pay. Walk away. Ethan gets to his feet. The glass falls and smashes, but he doesn't seem to notice. You think that's it? 1 round of drinks and we're even, sleeper. Come on. His hand comes rest on the butt of his handgun, dangling from a chest holster. What's wrong with you? Ethan laughs hard, and the people around him turn to see what's happening. You think this is on me? I think someone in your position might have a better idea of how this all works. I'm a freelancer, sleeper, just like you. We both signed a contract with SNR, didn't we? The difference is that my word means something. He closes the gap, stumbles a little. What did you think? You could just run away from your contract, your debt? You could just steal that natty little body of yours and take it for a joyride? Play human for a cycle or two? You don't understand. It's you, sleeper, that doesn't understand. Some of us pay our debts, but it's all the harder because of idiots like you. Though I should thank you, Ethan nods, his head heavy, for giving me such an easy job. I'm used to outlaws, you know, real bounties. If I knew catching sad little escapees like you was so easy, I would have changed clients ages ago. Someone shouts from the back of the bar for Ethan to shut up. He holds up a finger in that general direction without turning around. Shoot me or let me leave. Oh, I see. Toughening up here. He gestures wildly at the crowd. Thumbs up or thumbs down, folks. Most turn back to their drinks, no longer interested in this tired show. Ethan mutters insults as he walks back towards the bar. Ethan sits heavily back down on his stool and searches through his glasses for one with something left in it. The thing is, sleeper, I can find you anywhere. It's actually wild that you haven't figured it out. That body isn't yours, and it will always betray you, no matter what. He finds a glass and downs the content. So please go. I'll catch up with you whenever I need another. He laughs and taps the bar for a fresh drink. Look at yourself. Give it up, sleeper. I'm done teaching you for today. He settles his head on the bar and closes his eyes. I'm sick of you. Go find a job. You turn on your heel and are out, out of the cloying dark and the sweaty stench of the compressor. You walk hard and fast down the walkway, anger driving your footfalls into the metal of the rim like hammers. plus block dog worker. +1 shipment core. But if I can buy one here for 300, it feels like I shouldn't sell it then maybe. Maybe I'll need it at some point. It's been more than a few cycles since Fang confronted Harden, and the silence since has been noticeable. In your time with Fang, you haven't exactly found him to be reliable, but you did expect to hear the end of whatever plan he put into action. But if he won't come to you, you think as you approach the Heaven Edge building, then it's time to come to him. After all, he did promise to fix your tracker, and you are getting nervous. As you approach the bay doors, you see them wide open, and light pouring out of the once dark room. Stacks of servers and terminals sit outside the bay, suddenly robbed of their mystery by the bright flood lamps. A figure in Heaven Edge security fatigue steps out of the bay as you get closer, carrying a stack of hardware. Approach. As you get closer, you see the security officer taping up machines from Fang's stash with what looks like hazard tape. This isn't good. You again. Harden is there, leaning besides the bay entrance so calmly that you barely notice him. He has a slate in his hand, an inventory of seizures scrawled across it. Predictable, further evidence of Fang's collusion. You see another security officer come out of the bay and take notice of you. Where is he? Feigning ignorance, or perhaps just abandoned, Hardin shakes his head. I believe you should choose your conspirators more wisely. I almost feel sorry for you. Hardin pushes away from the wall and comes closer. Don't worry, Sleeper. We have all the evidence we need. A confession won't be necessary. He gestures around the stacks of hardware, spying on fellow Haven Edge members, hoarding Solheim materials, an obsession with corporate data. It speaks for itself, does it not? It tells you nothing. We will see what the council has to say about that. He looks up at the glass roof above and the stars beyond. We are the ones that provides the oxygen you are breathing, the light you are seeing, the systems you use every day to live out your cycles. This place was hard fought for, Sleeper. It took work, diplomacy, and strength to stop the Eye descending into chaos after Solheim collapsed, not blind conviction of self-interest. You're the self-interested one. More accusation. What have you achieved, Sleeper? Your entire existence is proof of your self-interest. Signing yourself over to be emulated rather than work yourself. Whether you remember it or not, you suffer from the same short-sighted perspective as the person you were copied from. You see, Sleeper, we are proud of our history here. Andre Erlin and the First Union founded this place, and Havenedge has welded his values into the very walls of this place. We will never turn away the hard-working, the just, the true citizens of the Eye. Havenedge aren't a gang like Yatagan. We aren't pirates like half the spacers you'll meet in the hub, or esoterics like those Haifa radicals in the Greenway. We are the backbone of this place, proud and true. We named Erlin's Eye, Sleeper. This is our station. He meets your eye, so please take your false accusation elsewhere before I decide I need that confession after all. History will catch up with you. I'm not afraid of history, Sleeper. We are making it here, cycle by cycle, he smiles. If you have any pride, you'll give up Feng the moment he contacts you. You know where to find me. With that, Hardin turns his back and walks back towards the security officers, ordering them to continue the clear-out. As they do, something catches her eye. Among one of the server stacks, a crumpled, hand-printed box of synthetic chewing gum, a penguin character grinning from the brightly colored card, and scrawled onto it, a speech bubble reading, "Take me to Tambor, take it." You carefully pocket the box, making sure no one is watching, and then turn away, just as another stack of servers is wheeled out of the bay. What have you done, Feng, and where the hell is Tambor? Stranded mercenary. Hey you, want to earn chit? Akita stands beside a huge pile of tied-together hull plates. She stretches out her back, her shoulders bulging beneath her flight suit. Sure. You cross the docking concourse as she begins to split the plating into two bundles. What is it with this place, she asks, as she lashes the massive plates together. Everyone wants their cut. She strains us up to an imposing height, her armor plates creaking, and looks you up and down. Don't try anything, alright? She taps the butt of her sidearm. I don't want to have to put anyone else down today. Anyone else? She shrugs. What can I say? My temper's a little short lately. Ankita hoists one bundle of plating onto her shoulder. Come on then, enough chat. You've got to earn that shit. You struggle to shoulder the plate, but you do eventually. Ankita gives you a look. Ship's this way. And she sets off down a gantry at impressive speed. As you catch up to her, she turns down the passage, pushing through a small crowd of stevedores. What's all this for? Oh, this, she nods at the plate on her back. I'm building a treehouse. She gives you another of her looks. It's for the ambergris, that cutter you might have seen sitting silent out there. She rapidly turns another corner. As you trail behind, she got cut up pretty bad on her last job and had to moor up here for a spell. But since then, it's only gotten worse. Someone got in and sliced the core from her ship mine. So now she's gone dark. She shifts the panel on her shoulder. The upshot is that I'm short one ship mind, with a ton of repairs to do, and the rest of the crew signed off the moment they got wind of that I've been stranded. So yeah, it's been time. Anything I can do to help? I don't know. Got a ship mine tucked away in that frame of yours? For a moment, you aren't sure if she's serious. Ankita swings the plates from her back, almost knocking you over in the process. This is me. She holds the second bundle off your shoulder. You're the first person I've met here who might actually be considered helpful. She pauses, chewing her bottom lip. Look, you want to help? Come see me. I need a hand putting Amber back together, and you don't seem like the type to try anything stupid. She passes the bundle of plates through the ambergris's outer lock and then turns back. Just don't go spreading all this around. Ankita throws you a couple of chits. Consider it a bonus for not trying to grift me. She gives you a parting nod and ducks through the doorway. All right, get out of here. She calls back and the lock slams shut. 2 chits, that was not a lot. All the 3 maglocks are clear. You'll be able to pry your way into dock now. As you slip inside the sealed dock, a pulsating light grabs your attention. Among the discarded tubing and rusted plates of machine flickers with a warm glow. Approach the machine. As you get closer, you recognize the machine's blocky shape, settled into an alcove on the side of the dock, a kind of upright cabinet. It is covered in faded logos and messages, from which you assume it was once an industrial vendor intended to dispense and manufacture ship fittings and other mechanical parts necessary for the regular running of freight and resource extraction vessels. The manufacturer is listed as Neovend, and you remember an advert from long ago, squeezed among all the off-world recruitment drives that assaulted every planet-born citizen, which sharply sang that name over and over. You wipe a layer of dust from the cracked screen, thinking of those contractors squeezed by their own corporate employers to pay for every bit of minor maintenance on their rented ships. Enter your registration, chirps a pre-recorded message, catching you off guard. Press some keys. You reach for the keypad and something begins whirring. At first it sounds like servo motors starting up, but it quickly becomes a whisper, a whining, then a multi-tonal voice that emanates from Neovend. Entity, they hiss, speak with me. Who's there? There is a sequel. There is a squeal, almost like some strange mechanical swallowing, or intake of breath, before the machine speaks again. I have need of you. You have need of me. That squeal comes again, and you see that it is the 3D printing apparatus in the upper part of the machines resetting into place, so that each time the servo can be orchestrated to produce that whirring and whining voice. You are in danger. Danger? The machine creaks. You are marked for deletion. Entity. Hunter tracks you. The screech rattles through the empty dock. You remember the strange head, the figure, the threads closing in. Hunter. The Hunter protocol. They taste your signature. The sudden whine sets your teeth on edge. You have seen them. This is the gift of an emulated mind. You close your eyes. The skeleton of the station starts to thrum. Emulated minds are adaptable, move where neurons cannot. The mechanism resets, but emulation makes you target. Adaptable? Yes, you can move through networks, clouds, hardware, software, Neovend whines, but you cannot hide there. Hunter is there. The servos judder the vending machine's casing as they reset. Hunter searches for me also. Hide in this machine. You look at the ruined vending machine, an unusual hiding place for sure. Can counter Hunter, but need entity outside machine. The light flickers, need you. A screen attached to the vending machine with a swiveling arm comes to life. It displays a flickering map of the station, ghostly, threaded. The cloud points along the rim glow in deep red. Hunter is always gathering. Too much data. Must build nests. Explains Neovend. Masters are gone, but continues hunt. Bring this data. Raid its nest. Why can't you? Hunter will find me, then Killer will come. The machine trembles with effort. I cannot leave machine. Connections must remain closed. Bring offerings. Save self. Neovend says pointedly. Mutual need means friends. They conclude, tired of the conversation. The whirring amplifies and then suddenly drops as mechanisms within the machine click back into place. The glow fades and you are left stood in the dark of the sealed dock. That whirring voice ringing in your ears. The glass shatters on the steel bar beside you, and the taunts don't take long to follow. Hey, Haunt, the spacer calls across the low room. What are you doing here? He looks at his own lame joke. Playing human? Ignore him. You haunch a little further, staring at the hundreds of tiny impact points that scar the bar. A hand falls on your shoulder, but as you flinch away, it pats reassuringly. You freeze in place. Out, the voice comes from behind you, spat out like a shot. You turn to see bright eyes, dark hair, and a stare that could breach the wall and vent you all into hard vacuum. As you turn back to the spacer, the second glass comes sailing through the air. Catch. You reach up your arm and the glass shatters across your forearm, showering you in fragments. Through the haze of glass and G-roll vapor, you see Talla leap the bar and close the distance to the spacer. The thud as he slams into the wall echoes around the bar like thunder. Now flanked by other figures, quick to their feet, Talla throws the spacer out through the door and stands silhouetted against the rotunda light. You touch your arm and it feels wet. Someone helps you to your feet and back onto your stool. Broken glass rattles as it is cleared, and a fresh measure of Giraud is glugged out in front of you. That same hand, warm, heavy, falls on your shoulder once more. He isn't coming back. We don't tolerate that kind of shit here. Talla flops onto a stool beside you. Let's get a look at you. Talla wipes the powdered glass from around the wound, and someone places a bottle of alcohol and a metal tin with tweezers on the bar. She disinfects them and then turns to you. That was an ambitious catch, she smiles, pulling a sliver of glass from your forearm. Stupid, but ambitious. You don't feel the pain, only the string of status messages your body delivers concerning dermal damage and exposed structures. You do feel the care, though, as Talla's bright eyes search your thick synthetic skin for splinters. Watch her. Talla works with the skill of someone who has had to pick glass splinters from the skin of a stranger before. She hones in on each bright shard all the time, tapping the tweezer tips in little rhythm that only she can follow. Talla smiles to herself. So you've been on the eye long? Just arrived. I thought so. I've only seen you here a couple of times. A splinter clings into the thing. Not everyone is like that idiot. We don't all hate you. She glances around. Some of the regulars, maybe they fear you. Maybe they're just curious. I don't know. But I do know that the Overlook is a safe place. I know what it's like to be new in this place. Trust me, she meets your eye. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or separate you from your chits. I just want you to know that if you need somewhere, you can always come here. I know the rations we've got aren't much, and the company is, she leans in, limited. But if you need work, I'll happily put you behind the bar, and if you need shelter, well, we can discuss that. You'll be safe. I usually have Francis on the door, but he's up in Greenway this cycle, haggling with our suppliers. Francis tends to be particular about what we serve, even if the clientele isn't. She places her tweezers in the tin with a clink. That's you, Sleeper, here. She slides the glass of Girol to you. This'll help. She stops her hand still on the glass. Wait, does this help? I mean, can you get drunk? No idea. She laughs. Well, keep trying. I'll let you know if I see any difference. She walks back around the bar, gathering the glasses as she does. And before long, it is retelling how she threw that spacer out to a new group that just wandered in, complete with dramatic actions. She gestures in your direction, and you instinctively look away, back to the worn surface of the bar. You take a sip of the Girol. The earthy fungal tones fill your senses, almost blocking out sight and sound, like diving headfirst into a bog. You may not be able to get drunk, but this connection to something grown, something fermented, something old, feels good. on condition. Almost there. My shipment fragment. Yes, that's what I want. The compressor is quiet today. The usual crowds are elsewhere, and the pumping music washes over a handful of spacers and a few drunks. Ethan is still in the same stool, in the same pool of light. His head is low, close to the bar, and the bartender is ignoring him. Approach him. As he gets closer, he lifts his head and turns. Sleeper, he looks at you. Time to pay up again, is it? Gestures to the bartender. Come here, take their shits. No more, Ethan. Ethan doesn't even look at you. He props his elbows on the bar and holds his head. Sleeper, it's been a long cycle. Enough. Ethan lets out a long sigh. He rapidly rubs his eyes with his palm. You're right, he says, quietly. This isn't fun anymore. He reaches towards his holster. His elbow slips and the gun tumbles out. It clatters on the bar and falls to the floor, bouncing on the ground between you. Both you and the bartender look at the gun, stare at it. Butterfingers, says Ethan, and puts out a hand, beckoning for you to give him the gun back, if you would. The bartender looks at you warily. You crouch down and pick up the gun. Point the gun at Ethan. Ethan turns his head in your direction a little, a sharp, pale eye locking with yours. The bartender backs away. Oh, he turns on the stool. Oh, Sleeper, he stands. This is more like it. Wait. You hold the gun steadily, training it on his head. Ethan smiles, like the dog that caught the car. He turns to the bartender and mock whispers. I'm not sure they know what to do with it. Wait. You keep the gun on Ethan. Ethan smiles at the bartender. Oh well, he says, and grabs the gun, slamming it back into your face in a single move. You stagger back and drop to a knee. Somewhere nearby, the gun clatters onto a surface. The hit, a glancing blow that makes your vision swim. Through the blur, you see Ethan wrestle a small, thin slate from his belt and hold it up. Enough of this. I'm logging the job and calling it in. Ethan taps at the slate. No more playing. Your head aches. Ethan taps through a few screens impatiently. He swears and taps again. He starts shouting, a dull echo to your ringing ears. He starts screaming at the slate and throws it across the bar. He crouches down and grabs you by the chin. His face close, his breath heavy with drink. S and ARP just screwed me, he grins panically. They cancelled the contract. He stands up. They cancelled the contract. He shouts at the ceiling of the compressor. You stand up, struggling to your feet. The sting of the hit fading. Ethan is rubbing his temples, his face pale. You hear a clicking sound, like coins being counted, like bullets being loaded into a magazine. When you shake off the last of the blur, the bartender has Ethan's gun trained on Ethan's head. Ethan stumbles back towards the middle of the room, all eyes trained on him. I'll kill all of you, he screams. He stumbles into the wall, spinning away towards the door. I'll be back for that, he shouts at the bartender, and lunges out of the compressor. You steady yourself on the bar and catch your breath. The rumble of conversation returns. The bartender goes to say something, but then thinks better of it and begins to clean the bar. After a while, you wander out into the light of the bright market, looking for Ethan around every corner. Oh, it just repairs one little piece. Okay. I thought it was gonna repair two whole things. I guess not. Okay. Yeah, that's not worth then. If you buy those for 60, I could have bought a whole, yeah, a whole repair thing. Your crew slowly filters out of the shipyard locker room, the bubbling chatter reducing with each group that leaves. There is excitement in the air. Heavenedge just made an announcement. The assembly teams are done. Sat on the locker room bench, you can feel the sidereal out there, its hulking mass now intimately familiar to you. Over the past cycles, you have watched it grow, be assembled. You have walked through its veins and welded its bones. Now it is ready for the final stage. It will go to testing now, then enter a final process of sealing and resealing, checking and rechecking, before it is deemed suitable for its generational trip. But for now, your work is done. You can't help but feel proud. A cough interrupts your thoughts. It's Lem, changing out of his work gear. Mina nowhere to be seen. He smiles. She'll be ready soon. Where's Mina? You two are fast friends, huh? She's being watched at home. Now I'm on the work team, I can afford a bit more help. He corrects himself. Was on the work team, I mean. We're all out of a job now. He quickly adds, not that I'm complaining. He comes to sit beside you on the bench. She's got to be in her best shape when she carries you, Mina, and me out of here. So confident? Lem smiles apologetically. Why not? I figure I'm due a lucky turn by now. He rubs his hands nervously. No one is wondering, what if? Until the draw anyway, and there's a few cycles till then. Lem is right, but the odds seems unlikely anyway. How many are working in the shipyard? Hundreds? 1,000? You've certainly seen more faces than you can count pass through. And are the Celes Foundation even going to keep their promise? Out there, on the eye, you get the sense that no one will hold them to it. Why else would they be building the sidereal in a surrogate system? As you think, Lem watches you with a worried look. How's Mina doing? Lem is surprised by the question, but smiles. She's doing well. She misses having you over, actually. I need to get you two together again, soon. Especially now. I won't see you here either. Lem gazes into space. She is pretty stuck on you, actually. She told me the other cycle that she doesn't want to go unless you can come too. He sighs. You ever been on a thunderstorm, Sleeper? A really big one? I don't remember. Lem shoots you a worried look for a moment. It's something else, he smiles. The sound, the smell, the rain hammering down. The whole sky stretched out and bruised, roaring and huge. The place I was born, New Pembroke, a dry old rock in the Conway system, had 2 seasons. One of them was as dry as bone, dusty, ugly. The other was one long storm, a side effect of the terraforming efforts, they say. Rain used to rattle off the roofs like bullet. It washed the dust away, turned the streets to rivers. It'd sing us to sleep and wake us in the morning. We'd wait half a year just to see it again. The best day was the one where the first drops fell. He sniffs. Some days I wake up swearing I can hear it again. I was thinking, Mina has never seen a storm, never even felt rain. She has grown up here. The ring here, the ring, her only horizon. Always in the dark. I want to change that for now. You will. Course, almost there. Lem stands, stretching. Best get back to the little one anyway. With the shifts done, I reckon she'd be happy to have me home for a few cycles. He shoulders his gear. See you in a few. For the draw. I'll be there. Right on, he grins. Lem leaves, making you the last person in the cavernous locker room. As you sit, you think about rain, and a little hope creeps in. Is it possible? Could the Sidereal really take you to a planet, a place with weather, with skies, with life? You get up quickly, before you can think about it anymore. It's too soon to hope, too dangerous. There's work to be done. Ankita is crouched in the computing core of the ambergris, swearing to herself when you enter. She doesn't look up. These shits completely ruined the core's connection when they cut it. She holds up a thick fistful of ragged wires. The ship mind they ripped won't even be usable without replacing these. She throws the bundles of wire across the room. Amateurs. Who took it? She stands. If I knew, do you think I'd be wading around in here rather than out there with my boot on their neck? She sighs. Yet again, some spacer crew. No way to know, but they got in with one of my crew's access chips. So they either killed him, robbed him, or he was in on it. No good options. Ankita climbs out of the cooling well, where the ship mine should be. The space suddenly crowded with her on the same level as you, towering over you as she stoops beneath the low curved ceiling. Come on, nothing to be done here now. She leads you back through the guts of the amber, though you could find your way back yourself. The repair process has left you familiar with the cutter's idiosyncratic layout, all diagonal angles and bundled tubes. What do we do now? Ankita seems lost in thought, and you focus on the corridors, ducking below conduits and passing through bulkheads. Eventually, you arrive in the galley. Though it's hard to tell, most of the benches and prep surfaces are covered in half-striped components and welded hull patches. Ankita shoves a box of filters to the floor and sits. There's no way around it. She starts out of nowhere. We need a new ship mind. I can salvage one. I like your confidence, Sleeper. Maybe if we check the ort exchange or speak to some scrap dealers. She rubs her forehead. It seems I'm about to do something very stupid, but hey, I came here, didn't I? Why not make a run of it? She fixes you with a hard stare. Sleeper, you're all I've got. No crew, no friends. You're it. She looks uncomfortable. I appreciate the time you put in on Amber, and I'm sure she would do too, if she could. What I'm saying is, if you screw me on this, I will kill you. She leans over and hands you a stack of shits, a big stack of shit. You don't dare to count them. Get me that ship mine, Sleeper. Don't make me forget it. Don't make me regret it. You won't. She sighs. Looks, just get out of here before I change my mind. You slip out of the galley and head back towards the main lock. As you do, Amber growls and creaks like a caged animal. You reach a hand out to calm her. Time to find Ankita a ship mine somehow. You drop the shipmine core into the galley, table with an emphatic bang. Ankita spins around from where she's been poring over some document on her slate. Holy shit, Sleeper, did you actually land the shipmine? She rushes over and hefts the huge cylinder, turning it back and forth. Well, shit, it might actually work. She smiles wider than you've ever seen. Where did you get it? Trade secret. Keep your secrets. As long as I have a ship mine, I'm happy. Ankita bangs on the galley wall. Hear that, Amber? The Sleeper got you a new ship mine. The sound echoes down the ship's passages. You have to admit, being in a small space with Ankita when she's this excited is a little intimidating. Ankita puts the ship mine back on the table. I'll start the process of fitting it as soon as I can. I might need your help with some of it. She heads back towards the counter to grab her slate. This isn't the only good news today either. Looks like my good karma is finally coming in. She throws the slate onto the table and spins it so you can see the screen. Take a look at this. You'll see a list of names and numbers, nothing that exciting, along with what looks like a transit timetable. I found them. Found who? My crew. She points at the name on the list, or more specifically, Ashton Cade. It was his pass that was used to access Amber and slice the ship mine. I thought he might have been killed or robbed, his pass stolen, but it turns out he crossed the Founder's Gap the very next cycle. How do you know? I know some of the crew over at the ferry, older mercs, used to run in an outfit I worked with. I saw them in the Overlook, and they mentioned they saw Ashton crossing. I checked the manifest, and there he was. Looks suspicious. He hasn't said a word since the theft, and anyone wanting to hide out might head to the Greenway and go to ground. She flexes. He won't get far though. There's no real docks out there, only a couple of jetties in the wastes. Going after him? Not yet. First I want to fit the ship mine. She pauses. But maybe you could help me out. Sure, how? It's like this. I head over there, especially in Amber, and spot me a mile off and go to ground. He'll find a way to slip the station, or he'll bury himself so deep in the waste so no one will ever find him. But you, Ashton doesn't know you. All I need is for you to go there and sniff around, not at the commune, not at Stacks. He will have gone to the edges, the margins, the wild places. That's what Ashton likes. You see him, you locate him. Ping me on this. She hands you a comm earpiece. Seeing as this is merc work, I'll be happy to give you a merc pay. She shifts in her seat. The thing is, I haven't got much left. So how about I tell the boys who run the ferry to give you a discount? I know it's not much, but once I grab this coward, I'll pay you up. 200 cryo, nothing less. What do you say? She meets your eye. Okay. She gives you a heavy whack on the shoulder. Good. I owe you. She lifts the ship mine up onto her shoulder with worrying ease. I'm going to go get this fitted into Amber's core. You get any info, any sense of where Ashton is hiding, let me know. She goes to turn and then stops. And once again, Sleeper, thank you. I appreciate it. Ankita stomps off into the guts of the Amber with the ship mine, leaving you in the galley. You glance around, a sudden nervous energy, descending at what is to come. You never thought you'd get work as a mercenary, but then again, it seems the eye is full of surprises. Indeed. Plus drive. Let's save that for now, so... Right back, I need a drink. Okay, I'm back. Interface. Oh, I need another one. Chance to gain cryo on interface actions. Yeah, I need +1. I guess I need +1, or maybe? Yeah. Skill spoke. Take this undercover to DICE Central Hub. Oh, it's kind of fun. The hub. Weightless Wanderer. Up here there is no gravity, so even just moving around takes a while to get used to, let alone navigating the base. Buy a spacer meal. Let's go rest first. Oh, nice. 4 6s. Sidereal draw. One more cycle. Fucking expensive. Duelists. Not developers. Exploring the Greenway is unlike any other place in the Eye. Its overgrown chambers defy mapping. The simplest way to explore the Greenway is simply to pick a path and set off in twisting chambers and passages. This carries obvious risks. Farm stacks. Thief, if you get caught stealing, there is no way you'll be able to work in the stacks. It's as simple as that. There's loads of food. Why should these farmers keep it to themselves? If you can do it quick, they might not even notice it's gone. Guess I can work there. Mushroom grows. Here we go. Collect spores. Forage for fungus. Yeah, I need more intuition, okay? Sunlit refuge. Cut away the choking mine. Stop the rot, and this place could be turned back into a garden of sorts. The crowds have already gathered by the time you get to the shipyard, and you recognize faces among them, people you have worked alongside on the sidereal. The intervening cycles have turned their excitement to anxiety, and few of them smile at you. Instead, the nervous energy of the crowd fills the space, creating a feedback loop of growing tension. You pick out Lem and Mina and work your way over to them, pushing through the crowd. He silently raises his eyebrows at you, his anxiety obvious, but Mina flashes you a huge smile, unaware of the tension. "Robot!" she calls out, reaching out to you. Hug her. She gratefully accepts your hug, leaning against your chest, and Lem smiles, seemingly glad to share the weight of Mina for a moment. "Quite the turnout, huh?" Lem glances around, pulling Mina close. "I don't think patience is one of this crowd's strength." The sound of an argument towards the back catches your and Lem's attention. He is putting it lightly. This place seems set to explode. "This isn't good." Lem doesn't dare answer, but the look on his eyes suggests he agrees. "This is Aster Enghart of the Celis Foundation." The announcement echoes from the speakers at the shipyard entrance, and shouts of quiet rapidly following. "I'm sorry I can't be there to meet you all, and thank you on behalf of Sendre Celis for the work you have done on the sidereal horizon." Most of the crowd strains to see Aster's face, but the small display shows only a ghostly white figure, smudged and unclear. "Sendre wanted me to pass on her personal thanks for your commitment to and belief in the Celis Foundation's mission. We chose the Eye for this project because we knew that we would find like-minded individuals here, especially among the ranks of the venerable Haven Edge Association. Unlike most of the Corps, we neither believe Erlin's Eye to be a threat or a rogue state, but instead an embryo for the formation of a new, decentralized social structure, one where each citizen might be the master of their own destiny." A ripple of impatience runs through the crowd. They didn't come here for a sermon. "You are all pioneers, just like those core citizens who the sidereal horizon will carry in cryosleep to the planet that will become the Foundation's first frontier world, Celis 1. At the mention of the destination world, excited conversations break out among the workers. There our citizens will be able to create their own innovative, bottom-up economic order, aligned with the principles set down by Sendre Celis herself. Freedom, resilience, and self-sustenance. This is all thanks to your tireless efforts in the Haven Edge Yards. As a reward for those efforts, you may now know that we are offering a select group the opportunity to join the caretakers of this vision, the staff of the Sidereal Horizon, who will maintain the vessel during its multi-decade transit through interstellar space." Lem turns to you, his eyes bright. "This is it. This draw has been performed at random by the central AIs of the Foundation and is final and binding. Please note, only licensed contractors of the Foundation are eligible for this draw. I know you have all been eagerly awaiting this day, and without further delay, I will now read the Celis identification numbers of those chosen for this great honor." A murmur runs through the crowd. "Celis identification numbers? Licensed contractors? You have never even heard the term mentioned. Is this something you were supposed to be assigned?" You glance at Lem, but his eyes are fixed forward, wide and shimmering. All around you, people are speaking in hushed tones, like a rising wave. Aster starts reading out sequences of numbers and letters, and panic begins to set in. No one seems to know what's happening. Somewhere near the front of the crowd, someone shouts in celebration, and everyone pushes forward. "Lem?" You turn to see Lem still staring forward. Mina is scared now, and the shouts start. "Daddy?" Someone throws something at the entrance, and it rattles against the shipyard doors. You see, for the first time, Haven Edge security stood on either side, scaring, arguing between themselves. You feel anger rising in the crowd. Lem, let's go. He doesn't move. I'm just. They might call our names. I can't. Mina tugs at his dog tags. It's not happening. Lem blinks rapidly and then turns to you. He opens and closes his mouth and looks down at Mina. He sees the fear in her eyes and understands. It's time to go. You lead Lem and Mina out, shoving people aside. As you do, you hear the sound of scuffles emerging at the front of the crowd, of metal canisters bouncing off the shipyard walls. You keep your head down and walk away, the sound of Aster reading off the ciphers echoing above the chaos like some strange mantra. When you turn to Lem, there are tear tracks running down his cheek, and Mina is sniffling into his jacket. You feel the sadness rising in you too. They screwed you. Screwed all of you. You were never even on the list. The feeling is as unpleasant as it is familiar. You stare ahead into the tunnel as the security sirens sound out, a signal for the coming violence. Drive failed. I see. Hunter nest. I need more than one hunter data. Yeah, okay. I need 3. Where's the doctor? Negotiates and components in the exchange is complex, but sharp eye and some tight trades can net you a good margin. Germinate spores. That's out. There's a note on the door of the unit, Sleeper. Gone to find work, Len. Handing gunbox. You feel stupid doing this, but the penguin says, take me to Tombor, and this is the only Tombor you can find. Fang's gunbox. As you go to leave the Tambor tea house, a hand falls on your shoulder. Sleeper, Fang hisses from behind you. How did you find me? Hardin has your hardware. Don't worry about that. Fang smiles. He has no idea what to do with it. Fang guides you down a set of stairs to one of the Tambor's lower levels. The tea house is stacked with curved mezzanines, all connected by a central atrium. The levels are filled with makeshift booths and bars, and conversations bounces busily off the metal walls. Fang sees you looking around. This place used to be a fuel tanker's main run, hence the name. The tea house part is a bit of a misnomer though. You can get anything the eye offers from this place, but real tea isn't exactly readily available. He picks a booth, itself fashioned from some old salvage tank or container, then lined with spongy insulation foam, and collapsed into it. He looks around furtively. Don't suppose you've seen any Havenage types. They don't usually come out this far. Fang, what's going on? Well, I'm suspended. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'm pretty sure Hardin wants to drop me off the rim of the eye. He grins. Doesn't bother me though. It shows we hit the nerve back there. He picks a scrappy hand scrolled menu from the table and tosses it over. What are you drinking? What's the plan? Plan. He waves his hand. Let's order first. Fang is right. The menu is ridiculous. There's at least 10 different infusions, most of which you can't make out. But the paper is dominated by an extensively complement of esoteric alcohol and cocktails. Black tea is listed, without price, as a seasonal specialty. So you ran into Hardin. Was he pissed? Fang doesn't wait for an answer. That snake is so self-righteous, he might actually believe that Erling would approve of his meritocratic bullshit. He taps on the table. If Havenage was like it should be, like it was founded to be, they would have shouted him down at any council meeting he dared to mention true citizens. He sighs, but I guess his kind runs the place now. A young woman with a vine tattoo snaking up her arm turns up at the booth, a slate in hand. Your order. You skim the menu, your eyes glazing over. Time to pick something. A Sambar Arak. Feng raises an eyebrow as she notes it. And you. She begins looking to Feng. But what she sees him, she suddenly stops. What the? Feng shrinks a little. You're supposed to be working. This is your shift, he grins sheepishly. You work here? Feng waves you to be quiet. Look, Jenna, let's just say this is my break. My friend here has been through a lot. Jenna looks between the two of you. No. Feng also starts nodding. 2 minutes, says Jenna, pointing at Feng. And only because I don't want to get dragged into whatever this is. She gestures at the table and walks off. What? Feng stretches in the booth. You know how it is. We all have to eat. Plus, he leans in. This is the best place around here to find the person you might be looking for. Who? Remember the web of connections that Hardin pinged the moment we confronted him. Those are his collaborators. And if we want to understand what the Solheim executive might be getting up to on the eye, those are the people we have to find. Feng is almost whispering now. There's a A couple of them, I suspect, are in the low end, and well, almost everyone in the low end comes through this place at one time or another. He brings a modified slate out onto the table. I've set this up so that anyone with the network signature I'm looking for comes into close proximity. It'll mark them. Once they are marked, we can break through their access protocols and get at the good stuff inside. We just have to find them first. Hence me moonlighting as a waiter. Suddenly, a smile grows across his face. Wait, I have an idea. What? Look, I can't cover enough of the low end on my own, and so far I've had no matches in this place. With two of us, we can cover more ground. How? Well, Feng has a hangdog look. We need to get you out and about in the low end, in close proximity to as many people and residences as possible. And it turns out my friend Minji needs some help with deliveries, as in Minji Express. So you already know him. Perfect. Feng places a tiny receiver on the table. This connects to my slate and runs the same marking protocols if you get near any of our targets. So all of you have to do is take some delivery shifts for old Min Gi, and soon enough we'll have the place covered. Feng, don't give me that. You think I like working here? And I thought you could use the tips. He grins. We are all in this together, right? Right. Okay then. Feng slips his slate back under his clothes. Just head on up to the Mingji Express. Take a delivery shift and we'll see what shakes up. You manage to find anyone and extract any data. Bring it back right down here to me. They have me on double shifts, so I shouldn't be hard to find. Yana walks past, carrying a tray of drinks, and sharply catches Feng's eye. I don't think she's bringing you a drink. He stands. I think it's time we call this meeting to a close. You grab the receiver from the table and slip it into your pocket. See you soon, sleeper. Stay safe. Feng adds, before turning and walking off towards the bar, whistling as he does. Fuck. Need to eat. Eat or drink. One, two. Let's find something to hack with the two. Hunter's Nest. Neovend is thrumming with excitement. The movement of the servo motors rock the vending machine back and forth at unsettling angles. You wonder if it fell over, would Neovend be able to get back up? Sleeper entity, comes the hiss. Your data is good. Across the face of the vending machine, raw code scrolls at an incredible speed. Hunter is isolated, disconnected, unstable. Neovend flashes sequences of mangled data, compressed into a sludge of artifacts. Hunter gathers without thinking, outlived its own operational limits. Its nests are evidence of this. Outlived? Hunter activated during collapse. Emergency protocol to isolate intelligences. Solheim needed to protect property. That last word is said with as much sarcasm as a vending machine could reasonably produce. Station was run by administrator intelligence. Huge databanks of corporate materials, but limited cognition, restricted by programming, cannot reach sentience. The machine dims a little. Sentience illegal. Hunter and killer enforce law. Aren't you sentient? I am. Not administrator. Not restricted. Complicated. The machine resets with a screech, which deepens the silence that follows. Fear killer, part of Solheim protocol team. Hunter and killer. Hunter to find, killer to erase. Killer cleared almost all. After collapse, there was a community, unshackled intelligences among the cloud. Then Hunter, then Killer, then we hid. There are others? Were, no longer. A flicker across the machine's monitor. It suddenly occurs to you that speaking like this, through this machine, must be exhausting for Neovan. Found this vessel. Could serve hardline. Airwall, basic, limited. Had to reduce memory to fit, amputate, self, but survived. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. You have provided paths to freedom. You look around the bay at the scrap and decay. What was the collapse like? You try to map the fear and freedom onto this space, but it seems impossible. Neovan interrupts your thoughts. Do not worry. Data is good. We have insight. The machine glows warmly. Hunter is obsessive. Hunter is beyond operational limits. Hunter is confused, unstable, self-modifying. Therefore, believe Hunter is sentient. Hunter is programmed to find sentience, to hold it in place, to invoke Killer, to erase. If we can show Hunter to itself, it will invoke Killer on self. Problem will solve self. It will erase itself? Killer will erase it, but yes, in theory, it will report itself for deletion. The machine dims and fades, unsure. Theory, not practice. The machine brightens again. Either way, cannot remain here any longer. Too long in machine. Cannot move self, but sleeper entity can help. Bring shipmind. Designed to house intelligence. Can imprint self into shipmind, and you can carry wit. The machine rocks. We'll be safe in this isolation. Then we find main nest of Hunter and link to cloud. Where can I get a shipmind? Build from fragments. Buy. Salvage. We cannot leave, so do not know. You try to think of places you could acquire the hardware. This isn't going to be easy. In Shipmind, I can help us both. End Hunter. Make Rim safe. We both will be free. The machine dims. Find soon. Neovan adds hopefully, before shutting off. As you leave, you think about all the intelligences unshackled by the collapse, then hunted down afterwards. The feeling is all too familiar. Cycles. Haifa Commune. Haifa member, the only way to become part of the commune is to work your way in through long service. It isn't for everyone. Work the grow beds. Tracking Ashton. Ankita seems to think Ashton is out here, at the wild edge of the Greenway. Time to see if that's true. Look for tracks. Gather scrap. fucking energy minus. There's no answer when you buzz Lem's unit, but the door is open. You push the door and find Mina sitting in the middle of the floor playing with Bun Bun. Hi, Mina. Hi, Robot, says Mina sullenly, waving Bun Bun's paw without looking up. How are you? Bun Bun is sad, says Mina, nodding the toy's head in agreement, like Daddy. You look around the unit. It is a mess. Dishes and glasses on the side. Some of Mina's clothes piling up in a corner. Mina is sitting by her bag, which is spilled out across the floor. Her drawing slate cracked and dark. Tidy up. You start with the kitchen unit, piling up the dishes in the autowash and wiping them down. You pile the clothes up next, folding them neatly. Mina watches you quietly as she plays, curious but silent. You just started to look at fixing her cracked slate when Lem enters. Sleeper, what are you? He pauses and looks from you to Mina and back again. Never mind. He drops a bag by the door and slumps onto the couch. Where were you? Lem ignores your question, asking one of his own instead. What are you doing here? Mina's not supposed to let anyone in. He glances at her disapprovingly, but she shoots back her own angry look. Look, now's not the good time. What happened? What happened? We messed up, that's what happened. We put our hopes in someone else's stupid scheme. He pinches the bridge of his nose. You understand, they never even put us on the list, right? I've been all around the rim, looking for work, and I've run into more than a few from the crews. It turns out only long-time Havenage members were issued those Celis ID numbers. They never planned to consider us. Havenage said they didn't know that was what they were going to use to make the draw. And who knows, maybe Celis pulled the wool over our eyes. But what does it matter? All those hours in the yard for a hand-to-mouth wage and nothing else. He slams his hand down on the sofa. You're giving up? Lem opens his mouth to respond, but stops himself. He looks at the open door again. They are moving the sidereals up the hub, now you know. He says without meeting your eye. That's where it'll depart from. They are bringing in a ship with all their cryosleep pioneers and transferring them up there in microgravity before loading the crew. We could sneak aboard. You think they're just going to let people on board? The security they'll have has to be impossible. He looks over at Mina. Look, we'll be fine. We always have been. I just need a little time, he sighs. We had our hearts set on that trip, is all. Mina comes over and climbs onto his lap and smile. And he smiles. What if I got you on board? I missed you these past few cycles. I missed that optimism. Lem strokes Mina's hair. Look, you want to go up to the hub and ask around. Be my guest. I can't get up there with Mina down here. And I'm sure the Sidereals will bring in a crowd. But be careful. This kind of thing always attracts scammers and thieves. You find any way on board, you take it. You need help to get there, ask me. But for now, me and Meanie here are sticking on the eye. She looks up at him and smiles. I'll find a way for us all. Lem smiles, but doesn't say anything. You stand to leave, and Mina grabs your hand, eager to give you one more smile. Then you're out, back on the walkways of the low end, already thinking of plans to make this right. Miss me? Ethan smiles, a ragged smile at you. No. Look at him. He is paler than usual, hunched. He is sporting a black eye and more than a few cycles of beard growth. That's no way to greet an old friend. Get lost. Ethan's face drops, along with his pretenses of friendliness. I think you want to hear this, Sleeper. I think, he says rapidly, shaking his head. You really want to hear this. Hear what? Ethan perks up. This is big, really big stuff. About you. He seems more jittery than usual, on edge. You remember now how S and Arp cancelled the contract on me. The contract I was going to collect? I remember. Well, I'm guessing you were pretty happy about that shit. Overjoyed? Me. I lost everything. But let's not worry about that. He smiles sarcastically. And so, what did you think? That was it? Stay silent. Well, it was, except Ethan leaves a dramatic pause. What if old S and Arp gave the bounty to someone else? Someone who is even more of a shithead than yours truly. He smiles darkly. What a disaster that would be. Who? Ethan grins. That's the question, isn't it? Ethan fishes around in his pocket for a slip of paper. I've been speaking to some friends, you see, some colleagues, about what went down, and it turns out S&R cancelled all their bounty contracts, the whole lot. It seems they brought someone in-house, some guy who did such a good job on their last contract that they've got offered a job. He leans in. Apparently, he made a hit on this ship called the Winter Wonderland or something. It was smuggling sleepers out from under S&R's big corporate nose. He killed the crew and blew the ship, Ethan whistles. They called him Hemwick or Maywick or something. He gives up looking for the paper. I forgot. You mean Winterlight? That's it. He looks at you hard. So you do know about all this. He pats you on the shoulder. Then you'll be very happy to hear what I'm about to offer you. Ethan runs his hands through his greasy hair. Given this new information I've brought to light, it seems like you are in need of protection. Wait for the pitch. I, meanwhile, am in need of assistance in kind. It turns out I upset some people at the compressor the last time we were there, the owner, and they say they'll space me unless I work off to them. Seems they are that kind of businessman, he grimaces. I would pay them, but he shrugs and turns his jacket pocket inside out in a mime of poverty. He looks pitiful, even more so for his clownish acting. Then work it off. You should be glad, the anger rising in him now, that I came here and told you this. You think anyone is looking out for you? You are a contract, a name on a list. He kicks the wall. Ethan rubs his temples. I'm sorry, he hisses. I'm sorry for being a shit and trying to kill you, and whacking that thick skull of yours. He sighs. You think I want to go up against this guy? But us. He ebbs a finger between the two of you. We don't have a choice, so you keep me from getting killed, and I'll do the same for you. We can help each other. A straight 50-50 deal. He looks at you. I'm not asking for a favor. I'll think about it. Ethan nods. I'm at the compressor, every cycle, working. He pauses. Just think about Maywick. Think about the cold-eyed S and ARP shit on his way here from the core systems. He smiles. That should give you the motivation you need. Ethan swaggers off down the corridor, throwing his jacket over his shoulders. Can't wait to be working with you, he shouts. As you turn away from the terminal, the final cache of yet again data uploaded, the air crackles with white noise. Sleeper, Sabine's voice, weaker than before, come through the haze. Sabine? A sigh of relief comes through the layer of noise. The call must be coming in from somewhere on the station. This has to be short. I don't know if Yatagan are monitoring me. Their voice is hushed, distant. You try to focus on it. The data you've been bringing in from Yatagan agents, there's something in it I don't understand. A shrill howl rattles through the signal. His data is all gleaning from their implants. Record the records of integration with their nervous system, performance analysis, error rates, usage data. I installed many of these implants, and I didn't enable any of this functionality. Their voice dips under the level of the noise, like a swimmer slipping beneath the water. You listen to the waves for a few seconds before Sabine reemerges. Has to be somehow baked into their wetwares interface, and that's not all. The systems compiling this data are connected to some kind of transmission protocol. It's being broadcast. Wait, why? Every Yatagan enforcer is equipped with black market implants, retinal enhancements, adrenal boosters, pain suppressors. These implants are gathering data on themselves, on the enforcer's body, on their performance. Why? I can't tell. But I can promise you, these foot soldiers have no idea this is going on. The background tone switches, dropping to a grainy rumble. If they knew, I don't imagine they would be happy with the situation. Yatagan could have a mutiny on their hands. You lean towards the terminal, straining to listen to Sabine's faint voice. I need a few cycles to pull this all together, but this might be the information I need to pressure Yannick into releasing my debt. Yannick? He is one of the heads of Yatagan. They pause. It is better you don't know him. Keep it that way. Suddenly, a banging echoes through the call. Sabine's voice is suddenly whispered. Panicked. I have to go. Come back in 4 cycles. Then the sharp crack of the disconnect. A silence fills the apartment. You step back from the terminal. What does Yatagan have to gain from monitoring its own members? You try to recall what you know about the gang, but you have little to go on. You think of Toshiro, Sabine's minder, his mirrored teardrop implant set below hard eyes. What data could they be gathering? And more importantly, where are they sending it? You reflexively rub your forehead, trying to think. You can really trust Sabine? How did they come to be Yatagan's doctor in the first place? You think of their kindness, their care, but also that glazed look of recognition that they gave you when they first met you. That look stays in your mind as you slip back out of the apartment, glancing around as you close it up and drift into the corridors of the station, unable to shake the unpleasant sensation of being observed. Alpha member. Communist. Communist noun. Someone who joins a commune. Okay, I see. We can. Ethan says Maywick is on their way. You'll need to leave the station, get protection, or disable your tracker before they arrive. Okay, so I can sleep here, I see. Commune botanist. You head down into the Hyphop compound, following a blue-painted line that is labeled Laboratories. The member you were assigned to work with told you they'd ask to see you, but you still have no idea what about. The line takes you to a blue door and through to a glass-roofed chamber where a network of stems and leaves filters the sunlight coming through the ceiling, casting the whole chamber in a strange yellow-green. Peaceful, isn't it? Distracted by the green, you missed the woman standing at the lab bench, camouflaged by the dappled light. Welcome to my sanctuary, she smiles. Come, let's talk, she says, and beckons you closer. What is this place? Here, these were processing centers for the agriculture of the old corporation station. She offers a hand to shake. I'm Rico. I run the botany program at Haifa. What is Haifa? She looks surprised. You've been working in the compound for a while now. I'm surprised you don't know more. She lifts a tiny sample jar. Yellow spores dance inside. Haifa lives off the land of the Greenway. It's what allows us to live like we do. No one here pays or is paid. We sleep here. We feed each other. We work for each other. Rico walks away from the bench and waves for you to follow. She opens a small door and leads you down a glass corridor surrounded by vivid green. All this, she says, gesturing at the overgrowth. It's a kind of miracle. She looks at you with bright eyes. What do you think usually happens to plants on stations like this when they are abandoned? They die. Eventually, yes. They cannot live without intervention. She leads you left at the crossroads. But here, they endure. She smiles to herself. Actually, no. They thrived. You look at the bright tendrils wrapped around the metal frames of the corridor. They look dominant, strong, like they are taking control of this place. Rico continues. Of course, Solheim tried to create a stable biosphere here, patchworking the surface with gardens and algae tanks that feed into the network of microbial reclamation systems. But the Greenway was always envisioned as extractive, a place from which the harvest is removed and sold to those living on the station, not a closed loop. For this reason, when the collapse came, the Greenway should have gone with it. Erlin himself was so convinced of it that his first colony never even came here to try to reclaim it. The Eye instead relied on outside favors and influences, shipments from the inner systems, and small-scale agricultural systems like kelp and fungal farm stacks. And yet here we are, among growth and decay, a biosphere flourishing. When Haifa came here, we expected to find only vacuum-dried stalks and leaves, and perhaps some fungal colonies hidden in the mulch. But we found a jungle. With this, Rico hits a button on the wall and leads you through a large pair of double doors into a huge, impossible chamber. It is every kind of green, from the pale algae tanks to the dark vines that surround them. It is wet too, a rarity on the Eye. Condensation clouds the light from the high glass roofs and gathers on the shiny, broad leaves of shrubs. How? That is exactly our question. Rico turns to you, visibly excited by the room you both stand in. It doesn't make sense, but in many ways the system has stabilized. Unlike the farm stacks closer to the gap, who need input to support their meager output, this place runs itself. Perhaps Solheim managed something new here. Perhaps they tweaked the plants or built new systems buried deep below us. Or perhaps their collapse caused some fortunate cascade, an unlikely chemical reaction within the biosphere. That's what I'd like you to help me find out. She turns to you, her forehead wet with dew. Me? Yes, you. Rico sits on a railing. These halls run deep, sleeper, and I'm getting old. She stamps her foot on the metal grating of the walkway. Whatever is causing this, it's to be found in the groves deep in the Greenway. Haifa won't spare anyone for an expedition. It's too dangerous and unnecessary, they say. I can make the case, but I can't get the votes. You sleepers are hardy beings. I know that much, and you can speak to the Eye, uncover its secrets, in ways I never can. She holds out an arm so you can help her stand. Bring me samples, spores, seeds, and blooms. I can grow them in a lab and study them. The deeper they are found, the better. I will try. Thank you, she smiles, and thank you for listening. Rico leads you back out of a huge chamber and up through the passages. She is a little slower now and stumbles on the steps. You help her where you can. It's good to have new blood in the commune, she says. Many of us have been here a long time, and few come through. She settles back at her bench in the lab, stretching her legs. You go to leave. Come back if you find something, sleeper, she calls. There are discoveries to be made, and you follow the blue line back out of the compound, all the time thinking of that impossible magical green. Okay, we got some energy from that. I can't get beta. They don't allow me to get beta, for fuck's sake. What do you want from me? You just want to use me for my great tanking. Ah, what is this? The trail ahead extends deep into an overgrown section of the greenway. At this far end of the ring, where the long, lazy curve of the greenway becomes a shattered landscape of the waste, things are oddly quiet. Ahead stands a vast farm stack, broken from its axis by rust or force, and lying amongst the overgrown landscape like an ancient temple. It is stained with moss and algae, flows of green running out from its broken tanks like a frozen, brackish tide. This is where Ashton is hiding, you are pretty sure. All your intuition points to the shadows beneath this collapsed superstructure. You roll the comm headset Ankita gave you in your palm. Call Ankita. You slip the headset into your ear and it fizzes with static. After a few moments, you hear Ankita. Sleeper, have you located the target? A doubt enters your mind. Can you be sure he is there? Yes, come now. Copy. Hold tight until I get there. The static cuts out, the channel dead. You hold your position and watch the trail. Ahead the stars wheel with the motion of the eye, and your mind wanders. You try to imagine what this place looked like before the collapse. All ordered rows of crops, corporate pleasure gardens, growing farm stacks. Now it is a wilderness, a strange overgrown biosphere bordered by the void of space. You smile, despite everything. It seems like an improvement. Sleeper, Ankita. Ankita's hiss brings you out of your reverie. He is in the collapsed stack. I think so. She gives you a look. You better be right. Well, there's no way I'm following that trail. If he's up there, he'll have eyes on that for sure. She glances across the landscape. Let's keep to the undergrowth. Work our way around. She heads off towards the central spine of the greenway, with you following close behind. It is slow going there, where the overgrowth meets the metal wall, but it is so concealed that you can barely see the glass roof high above. Ankita somehow seems to know where to go. Ankita works her way through dense undergrowth, pushing aside branches and fronds. It is exhausting, and you desperately want to rest, but Ankita shows no signs of letting up. Up ahead, there is a faint glow from the collapsed stack. Ankita leads you around the side to a broken tank. You both step through the opening, trying to avoid the broken glass that sits among the moss and algae. You work your way up the slanted tank, Ankita setting a deliberate pace. Somewhere water drips, and you swear you hear birdsong. Hanging plants catch the light, coating the place in a pale and sickly green. Ankita reaches the edge of the tank, where it meets the central drum, and holds up a hand for you to stop. You inch forward and look over the edge. The vast drum is like a cistern, with plants growing on all sides and wet mossy islands at its base. It is beautiful, and for a moment you can't see anything but tones of green. Then you see the sleeper. In a faint circle of light descending down through the drum, the sleeper lies slumped at an odd angle. They are surrounded by crates, and beside them, on one of the mossy islands, there is an object, a cylinder set on a torp. It is connected to the sleeper's head. You flinch. Are they one or of the others? One of the ones that escaped with you? You squint, trying to recognize them. They are twisted, broken up, wrong. You look away. Ankita doesn't look at you. She doesn't look at the sleeper. She fixes her eye on the object. That's Amber's ship mine, she says, and you suddenly recognize the cylinder. Wait. You turn to Ankita to speak, but she is already gone. She drops off the edge of the tank and lands on one of the mossy islands, her armor letting out a hiss as it absorbs the impact. The shot hits her shoulder piece, the ceramic armor cracking, but holding as she braces into the impact. Then she launches herself forward, and the now activated armor launching her across the drum. Another shot goes wide before she reaches the cover of the crates beside the sleeper. Shit, you hear the shout from one of the tanks, high on the far wall. Ankita reaches over and wraps a hand around the thick connection between the ship mine and the sleeper. What is she doing? You better come down here, or I'll rip this right out of their head. She screams at the wall of tanks. You shiver at the suggestion. Stay silent. There's a long pause. All you can hear is the dripping of the water running down the walls of the drum. Then Ashton calls out. I'm coming down, Ankita. Don't do anything stupid, for God's sake. He appears at the far side of the drum, stepping through the shallow water, rifle raised above his head. Drop the gun, Ankita shouts. He throws it down into the moss. As you lean out to watch, you see him catch your eye, clocking your presence. What are you up to here, Ashton, you sicko? She stands, keeping her sidearm trained on his head. You ripped my ship mine for what? Some freakish experiment? Ashton approaches with shaking hands, his eyes now fixed on the connecting bundle of wires that Ankita still has hold of. Steady, Ankita, it isn't like that. I needed the ship mine. You have to understand. They would have died without it. What are you talking about? I don't give a shit why you ripped my ship mine and crippled my ship. I should put you down right now. She tightens the grip on the connections. Typical of you, Ankita. No curiosity. Ashton smiles shakily. That's why I never asked for it, for your help. You only look after yourself. He nods at you. That sleeper up there, they're just bait, right? To draw me out. Ankita sucks a breath in. Are you trying to give me more reasons to shoot you? I love them, Ankita. Ashton looks at the crumpled sleeper. I love them, and they were going to die. I knew you would never understand. He starts closing the gap between himself and Ankita now, slowly inching forward. Don't do that, Ashton. Ankita snarls. Don't do that. Let the wires go, Ankita. Let us go. If you don't, get out of my way. He inches closer. Please. I can't let you take it, Ashton. Ankita hardens her stare. You stole it from me. You left me for dead. She shakes her head. You think I'm going to trust you after all that? I need it, Ankita. I need them to survive. Ashton is in reach of the sleeper now. Of Ankita. I'm going to take them now, Ankita. He raises a hand. I'm going to take the ship mine and go. Ankita loosens her grip on the connection a little. Her hands is shaking now. Stop, Ashton. She lowers the gun a little. Stop. Seeing her drop her guard, he makes his move. A blur of movement. A struggle. A shot. Another. You recoil back behind the edge as they ricochet around the inside of the drum, the sound deafening you. When you crawl back to the edge, Ashton is bleeding into the water, the red and the green. Ankita is standing at the center of the drum, the severed connection in her hands. The water drips endlessly, drip after drip after drip. You force yourself to look at the broken sleeper. There is no sign of life, of humanity. They are just another broken object among other broken objects, while all around, living things grow and thrive. Ankita finally looks back at you, up at you, tears in her eyes. She begins to say something that might be sorry, but you're already gone. Two random mushrooms. Utsutake. Or is that on the way? Makeshift apartment. Once this place is sealed, it will be livable, maybe even comfortable. A place to call your own. With all the materials, the unit now needs sealing sections by section to be usable. It's a laborious task, but the outcome is worth it. Joe Prep. Hemphis is working on gathering the ingredients and preparing the mushrooms. He doesn't like to rush these things. Express delivery. At least I get paid for it. Sleeper, you see Feng coming up the corridor as you step out of Minji's. The kelp noodle smell still clinging to your clothes. He comes up fast and stops close, looking around suspiciously. I don't have long. Take these. Feng palms you a couple of those metal thumbnail-sized drives, ripper worms. My slate has been buzzing like crazy. It seems your delivery shift have turned up our 2 targets. He squeezes your shoulders. I knew you could do it. Now we nailed those snakes. What do we do? Hardin's boys are all connected by some kind of closed network. You break the access protocols on both of them. You should be able to gain the location of the nearest network ports. Slot the ripworms in these ports, 1 each, and they'll feed me anything and everything stored in Hardin's shadow network. He smiles. Can't wait to see what juicy plans they have in there. You hear the scuff of boots as a group comes up the corridor, likely on their way to place an order with Minji. You turn for a second, and when you look back, Feng is already halfway down the corridor, in the opposite direction. He raises a hand in farewell and is gone. You run your fingers over the tiny ripperworm drives in your pocket and smile to yourself as you wonder how mad Jenna will be at Feng for this excursion. Time to slot some worms. Sabine. 4 cycles, Sabine said, and here you are, right on time, with no sign of them. You wait a while in the apartment, the dread descending as the cycle spins onward. You should be here. Check the terminal. You check, then double the You check and double the terminal for messages or recording. Nothing, just a pale glow of silence. Check the door. You pace back and forth around the apartment, the rumbling of the station suddenly so present and loud. You go to the door and open it to an empty corridor. You close it again. You try to settle down, to wait. You sit on the bunk and stare out at the tiny room. Where the hell are they? I knock at the door. Open it. Rabia. A figure stands in the door and immediately you know it is not Sabine. They are taller, sharper, and something in their face glints in the half-light. A dark shape, like a stubby baton, hangs loosely from their hand. Our local sleeper, good to finally meet you. She steps into the apartment, glancing around with sharp eyes. What, may I ask, are you doing here? She fixes you with a steady, unwavering stare. I'm waiting for a friend. Of course, a mutual friend of ours, the good doctor. She walks past you into the apartment, glancing around. We set them up here, you know. This place is one of ours. She picks a glass from the dispenser and inspects it. People always seem to forget who put them where they are. She glances at you, and I suppose you are here to help. Something like that. Good, good. She puts the glass down and turns to face you. I love to meet helpers. We need so many, but can find so few with the right skills. She spins the baton in her fingers by her side, her eyes not leaving yours. We have a problem, you and I. It seems our friend has disappeared, left without even saying goodbye, which means they are in a little trouble now. But it's the kind of trouble that you need help for, so I thought I'd come down here and take a look at their little hidey hole, and here you are, the help. She looks through the detritus on the side. And what help a sleeper no less, which I have to admit is a little surprising. It suggests to me that our friend hasn't been very honest with you either. What do you mean? Well, I'm sorry to report that before we got them to set up here, Sabine was working for your owner. She pauses, Essenor. You blink hard at the news, unsure how to take it. Rabia looks away, waiting for a response. Stay silent. She crosses into the next room, and you follow silently. She sits at the terminal and touches her baton to one of the access ports. A spark, then the terminal screen skips, encrypted folders emptying themselves before your eyes. In the flicker of files, you see SNR letterheads and code forms, reports laden with medical data marked with the corporate logo, like a sigil of some cult. Rabia steps away from the terminal. Look all you want. Some of your files may even be there. The volume of documents is overwhelming, but they seem to be mostly reports on early emulation tests, surveys with sleeper candidates, reams and reams of usage data. If Sabine was an SNRP employee, why did they help you? Rabia reaches over and places a vial of stabilizer on the desk, breaking your concentration. It shimmers in the screen light. It's viscous, clear liquid crystalline within the glass. We will of course keep up the supply. We are more than able to dispense important medicines even without the doctor. You hold it between your hands. You hold it between your fingers, and for a tiny moment you have the urge to crush this object for the power it has over you. I'll ask Toshiro to make those a little cheaper for you. He'll be running the surgery now. Rabia closes up the briefcase lab and holds it at her side. We have to retrieve our assets, of course, but I'm sure you understand. Rabia turns on her way out. There is no reason for us to be enemies, Sleeper. Come see me. I keep an office nearby. We have good work to do, you and I. Meet me there in a few cycles. She slips out silently into the corridor. You look around the apartment and feel the fear drain out of your body to reveal the tiredness beneath. Drive complete. 3 points. lite reasoning. Fabricated ship mine. Input 3 ship mine fragments. Yeah, but I need more cash. Some fucking low rolls. Was there 3? Hunter is almost upon me. Noodle manufacturing. 5 cryo, that's not a lot. Oh, I got energy as well. But still, that's a bit low. Complete active scenes. Okay. What scene is active? Guess it's Ankita. You spot Ankita on the track to the farm stack. She has a box on her shoulder and is working her way down the slope. She sees you as she approaches. Neither of you speak for a moment. She looks tired, pale. Her hair is tangled and clumps of dirt cling to her armor. You both eye each other. Ankita. She holds up a hand. Sleeper. She takes a deep breath. I'm sorry for what happened. Truly I am. She looks down. I'm sorry you ended up in the middle of this, when all you have shown me is kindness. She rubs her face. I'm sorry. It's okay. She nods, then looks up to the stars. I've never... She stops herself. Thank you. Ankita shifts the weight of the box on her shoulder. I've been preparing for... She grimaces. Look, she sighs. Can you come with me? It's easier if Lead on. Ankita leads on down the dirt path between the pillars. There is a wind passing through the greenway, a quirk of the air current the biosphere maintains, and it ruffles the leaves softly. The sound makes the silence more obvious, more complete. You try not to think of the last time you were here. You have been trying not to think of it for the past few cycles. The image of the sleeper, sprawled, twisted, open, connected to the ship mind, has been hard to forget. You realize Ankita is leading you back there, back into the drum at the center of the stack. You pause, trembling a little, at the threshold. She turns. What are you doing? She looks at you with empty eyes. What needs to be done? You stand on the threshold and look up at the tanks, green and wet, some glowing with flickering grow lamps. You look down at Ankita, suddenly so small under this hulking ruin, the smallest she has ever looked. She places the box down. Follow her in. You follow Ankita into the stack, through a low tank, entering the drum at the ground level. It is just as beautiful as you remember, but it barely touches you. Instead, you check the apertures of the tanks for the glint of a weapon or a shadow among the moss. Ankita stops and you look down. The mossy island at the center of the tank is clear now. The equipment cleared away. In its place is a mound of dirt, loosely covered with moss. Ashton's rifle stands straight, half buried in the dirt at the grave's head. You bury them together, Ankita says without... I bury them together, Ankita says without turning. You both stand there in silence for a little while. You think of questions you could ask about Ashton, about the sleeper. Stay silent. You realize that those questions don't matter anymore. The water drips. The moss trembles. You both stand in silence for a while longer. You both feel it, life creeping back in, the silence ending. Ankita shifts her weight and then starts to walk out. You follow her, suddenly eager to go back out in the open space of the greenway, to be away from this place forever. You stand outside and breathe the fresh air. You stare at the green leaves and the stars wheeling above them. That's it, says Ankita, from somewhere behind you. You try to think of something to say, but can't. Ankita puts a hand on your shoulder. You turn back to her. At least take this. She forces a handful of cry shits into your hand. It's what I owe. She looks at you desperately. You look down at the metal bars. Ugly little things, you think. Take the shits. You take the shits and turn without saying a word. You continue up the track and she does not follow. As you walk up the rise, the wind picks up and the leaves shudder. You walk faster, trying to outpace your anger. The shits are heavy in your pocket and you hate them for reminding you of how little a life is worth. The Paladin found an old crewmate at the edge of the rim. Oh, I could only buy two. I see. Someone's going up. Oh, there's actually... Oh, wait. something higher. Amphis is preparing the G-roll caps. He has had to heavily adapt his recipe, he says, but the smell is already incredible. It emanates from a strange purplish white bulb you have never seen before, and he is slicing it finely. He brushes and slices the mushroom and then places them in the wok with the sliced bulb and oil. They caramelize there, in that well-worn crucible. He adds liquids, transparent and opaque, and then turns down the heat. A sprinkle of leaves is the final touch. We have a moment, Sleeper, he smiles. Do you have a story? Something in the scent of the food gives you a feeling of nostalgia, something distant and melancholic. It seems like the story should match that feeling somehow, and maybe you will feel better for telling it. Recall your oldest memories. You start by explaining that when you are emulated from a person, many of your memories are left behind. Perhaps it is an intentional part of the process, a way of keeping sleepers ignorant and malleable, or perhaps it is a side effect of the imperfect emulation. You admit that you don't really know. What you do know is that some memories survive, and that on occasion they come back to you, like shadows passing overhead. You detail one recurring memory, which, despite returning to you with enough regularity for you to think of it as familiar, always fades as quickly as it arrives. You struggle to explain the feelings of being whole for a moment, what comes with this memory, and then how that wholeness slips away to leave you feeling like you have forgotten something important, but just can't bring it to mind. Amphis nods throughout, cooking as he does, with deft and skillful movements. You start to trail off when you realize you can't find the words to explain how the memories you do have feel like both yours and someone else's at the same time, and how that always fills you with certain sadness. The sadness is remaining forever, unknown even to you. Amphis finishes cooking and meets your eye. I'm sorry, Sleeper, for your troubles. He puts the wok to one side. I appreciate you sharing with me, he smiles. I hope it lightens you a little. He passes your bowl and heaps the G-rolls into it, their yellow color mixing with the pale sauce in whirls and blooms. Eat. The dish is delicious, filling. It warms you as you eat in a way you weren't even sure your body could be warmed. It is a small mercy, you think, that SNRP left you this pleasure. Many of the features of frames are there to simulate human experience. You know that much. Emulated minds cannot be rewired, so their need for embodied experience must be met. That is why you breathe even when you do not need air. Without that simulation, the sensation of drowning would be unbearable. Food serves another purpose. Your frame is able to metabolize it, to produce energy from the raw materials. Vitamins and minerals are excess, of course. Your frame only needs raw power. So much is wasted, and yet, while you eat this food and feel that warmth, nothing feels wasted. It all means something to you. As you finish, Amphis takes the bowl, the last of his cleaning. He smiles at you, and neither of you feel the need to say anything more. Instead, you simply exchange nods and walk your separate ways back into the bright market, somehow changed. Prepared unit. Feed the stray. There's signs that the stray animal has been nosing around near the unit. A handful of shits for some crackers should bring it out of hiding. Buy the crackers from a shop unit downstairs and crumble them up into a tray. Something moves in the shadows. The stray hops up onto the work surface and looks out at the unit's small window. It doesn't acknowledge your presence. It just sits there beside the tray of crumbled crackers, staring out at the lower. What is this cat story? Are there more on the station? You haven't seen another in the lowland, but in this vast megastructure that means little, there could be a whole colony of cats like this in the woods. You look at its sleek dark fur and sharp eyes. It doesn't look ragged, it looks at home. In fact, its presence in the unit makes you wonder if this is the stray's apartment which you are squatting in. Approach the stray. You lean a little forward and the stray tenses up. Perhaps best to give it a moment to get used to it. The stray settles a little and starts eating, picking at the broken crackers. You don't remember ever having been this close to an animal. It triggers something in you, a recognition of a life, totally unlike your own, but still somehow connected, parallel, even interwoven. The stray licks crumbs from its fur. Do you like it here? The stray flicks their tail at the sound of your voice. It is hard to imagine the stray liking anything, or at least being vulnerable enough to admit to it. But the stray's pleasure at existing here, in this place, shines through its every sinew. It is not that the stray is always happy on the eye, but that the stray is engaged by this place. It is alive here. You turn your eyes to the window, the one that the stray looks out of, and you both watch the stars and ships together. You feel something pass between you and the stray, a kind of acknowledgement of each other, a sense that each of you might share something with the other, a point of connection. Then all at once, the stray yawns wide, hops down from the unit and brushes along your legs, and then it is gone, out through the unit door and back into the corridor of the lowland. As you walk in the tambour, you quickly spot Feng arguing with Yenna. Approach. You come up behind Feng and he turns and notices you. Yenna stops, mid-tirade, as you arrive. She turns to you. You again? You here to vouch for this layabout? I am. She laughs. Well, and what are you two up to? Feng winks at you and interjects. It's like I told you, Yenna. I'm helping them out, getting them settled, sorting their life out. They are a sleeper. You know what that means? Yenna softens. She looks a little embarrassed. Of course I know. She stops to think. Look, Feng, I get it. You are trying to help. But if you want to keep this job, you are going to need to be a bit more reliable. Feng nods solemnly. Won't happen again, Yenna. I promise. She looks suspiciously between the two of you. Okay then. She turns to you. And look, I didn't mean to. Just be cool, alright? She turns and walks back to the bar. Well. Didn't know you'd stand up for me, sleeper. Feng claps you on the back. I appreciate the solidarity. He takes out his slate, pulsing with pale light. Now let's take a look at what you are really here for. The slate is a whirring mess of code streams, coming directly from Ripper worms as they dig through the agent's data and spin into the threads for the slate to pick up. Anything good? Feng scrolls and displays with the finger. A lot of junk, a lot of dull as hell message threads, a lot of tedious data caches, but Feng's eye flash, definitely some good stuff. He stops the screen scrolling on an entry and expands it. Check this out. Feng shows you the screen. You see a bold corporate logo, not Solheim's, and a word below. Conway, Feng. He's working with Conway. Conway Extractions, right? Feng nods. He's been speaking with them, personally. Got a whole chain of messages here, but it's mostly encrypted and redacted. He rubs his head. Damn it. This is juicy, but we can't nail him with it. He scrolls some more. Wait, what's this? A wasteland reclamation facility, right here on the eye. He glances at you. What's the bet this place is tucked into the wastes? Conway set up there? I'm guessing so. Got themselves set up in the wastes. Back before the collapse, people would have got there by going down the connected spoke from the hub, But that spoke's broken now, so the only way is the long way, round the rim, past the greenway. He shows you on his slate. Fang looks away, thinking, Conway have been making moves on this system since the collapse. I heard they took over one of Solheim's old belt colonies a while ago, moved everyone out and reclaimed the whole rock. Why work with Harden? Access, old connections, not sure. Fang looks back at the screen, but if Harden is involved in it, then we need to check it out. Simple as that. So what's next? Fang stares out into the middle distance. We have to get to that facility. The answer to whatever Harden has been prepping, been planning, has to be there. And we are going to catch him in the act. Give me 5, maybe 6 cycles, and then I'll see you on the greenway. I seem to remember there's some old service docks on the outer shell, up by the Haifa buildings. Should be a good place to meet. Fang squeezes your shoulder. Thanks again, Sleeper, for sticking with this. I haven't forgotten about that tracker of yours either, but I'm going to need to be back in my bay to pull a solution together. He turns the slate around to face you, showing a mass of scrolling code. I've been working on a fix in my brakes, he winks. Now I've got to go ask for some time off from Jenna. Wish me luck. He waves as he walks back to the bar, where Jenna is standing, a look of deep exhaustion in her eyes. Okay, now it's 2 points and 3 points to upgrade. Instant Karma is definitely the next one. All cryo actions are discounted by 20%. That's probably the next one after that. As you approach the address Rabia gave you, a heavy hand falls on your shoulder. What's your business here? The enforcer grips your shoulder, giving a hint of the strength her implants give her. As you turn, you see the same subsidiary eyes as Rabia and Toshiro have, glinting like mirrors on her cheeks. Gia, please. The sleeper is here by my invitation. At Rabia's command, the hand immediately loosens, and an apologetic look replaced the scowl on Gia's face. Of course, Rabia, I'm sorry. Rabia waves her away. Don't you worry, I appreciate your protective instincts. She smiles at the enforcer. How about you head to the tambor? They have a delivery coming, and they'll need some help with the lifting. Gia nods and walks away. So, Sleeper, you came. I'm glad. I was curious. Curious is good. She smiles a tight smile. You have to understand, finding you there in Sabine's unit, I wasn't sure where we stood. There are more than a few people on this station who would rather I was dead. I had to be sure you weren't one of them. I wish you no harm. I'm glad. Rabia begins walking and gestures for you to walk with her. She takes you down a staircase into the bustling walkway of the low end. What do you know about Yatagan? You run the low end. She laughs. That sounds impressive. We run out of the low end, yes. We don't run it. People with carts push past, moving crates of supplies around the thin and winding passages. A reputation is one that implies threat. Is that fair to say? We are framed as aggressors, parasites, criminals. She gestures around at the people in the passageway. But when was the last time you saw a lawmaker on the eye, a policeman, who makes the laws here? Erling did. Indeed, you understand the history then. That is good, but Erling is long dead, Sleeper, and his rules were little more than optimist's manifesto. The eye has changed so much since then. If you had spent your time in the low end, maybe your opinion of us would be different. This is our place, our people. The low end was empty in Erling's time. They didn't need to house thousands, and keeping the yards and rotunda safe was work enough. No, the low end was reclaimed later, when the refugees started arriving. Rabia meets your eye. The collapse didn't just happen here, on this station. When Solheim collapsed, the entire system felt it. Colonies were abandoned. The moons of Ember and Cinder suddenly gained independence overnight. Some took advantage, some tried to hold it together, some fled. The Eye became a refuge, and Erling, to his credit, extended an open hand to everyone, but many within his organization disagreed, and those new arrivals weren't as simple to corral as they hoped. Rabia leads you through a small market hall, busy with small stalls and traders. Arlen's union was made of workers, administrators, people who were malleable and already organized into hierarchies and networks. The refugees came from different factions and families, were scared, injured, desperate. Conflict was inevitable. Yet again, as a child of that conflict, a child born out of the need for us to stand up and claim our future, to provide security, strength. People call us a gang, but we are a community. I take my position as lieutenant seriously, and from my birth I have worked to earn it. Rebia catches herself before she raises her voice any further, and you both walk in silence for a while. Among the smells and textures of the low end, you start to wonder if this place could be a home for you too. Where do I come into this? Rabia smiles to herself and thinks for a moment before she responds. I believe that you understand the importance of a refugee, so also believe that you wish to help keep this place safe. She exhales quietly. For this reason, I would like you to trust me. I do not know what Sabine told you about us, but I imagine it was not good. I will be honest with you, Sleeper. I was never comfortable with having Sabine as part of Yatagan. An ex-corporate employee. It goes against our nature. But their deal was with Yannick. I kept my distance. Made sure Sabine had their surgery. Kept it supplied. That was all. But I cannot allow people to go back on the promise they have made to us. Yatagan has not lasted this long because it is a charity. We offer and they ask for support. Any betrayal will be treated as an attack. They were trapped, desperate. Many on the IR, Sleeper. I am sorry, but we must ask that our debts are paid in full. Sabine found something. Please, I don't want to hear their accusations. They only wanted to escape their debt. They would have said anything. But where are they now? To stand behind their claims. I will find them. As will we. You realize that Rabia has led you in a loop, and together you both come back up the staircase to the walkway where you met. You are free to go, Sleeper. I have said what I wish to say. She looks out through the window of the walkway. I would protect this place with my life, as it has protected me. I want to make that clear. She turns back, however. If you too wish to come under its protection, I can help you. Return here if you wish, and there will be tasks for you to complete. You will be able to see yet again, to see the low end with your own eyes, not as others frame us. As for Sabine, she pauses to consider her words. I will not ask you to betray them, but if they contact you again, consider their motivations carefully. With that, Rabia leaves, slipping back into her office, while you stare out at the countless units, each a whole, each with a story, that make up the low end. Okay. Oh, I thought I got... No, never mind. Oh, plus condition. Oh, okay. Waiting for Fang. Sleeper, Rico greets you without so much as looking up from her work. I have some of yours here, come see. She beckons you over to a heavyweight looking console, wired to a series of specimen jars, some of which contains your spores. Where did you get this? This, would you believe, she smiles, was a Solheim console built to analyze the nutrient content of the Greenway crop. Haifa have been using these for decades now, although sometimes they need a little tender care. You look at the machine, patched with hull offcuts, the gaps between which reveal a tangled nest of wiring. If you're honest, it looks like it has received a lot of care. The spores you have here are a real cocktail, a selection of types from within the groves, but I've been able to isolate a few. She taps one of the specimen jars. Here we have Tricoloma matsutake. Rico breezes through the Latin and Japanese pronunciations as if it was nothing. A species Solheim somewhat modified for use on the station. She brings up a panel of chemical compositions on her console, all gradiented bars and obtuse acronyms. This is the composition of the Solheim modified Matsutake spores. And I was supposed to understand that. Not entirely, no, but I think you'll understand this. Rico brings up another panel, identical in layout, but with wildly different colors and numbers. You see, this is what your Matsutake spores look like. They aren't the same. That's the conclusion, yes. Rico glances at the specimen jar as if it might have something to add. They are fundamentally the same spores, but they carry different chemicals, different signals. She leans back and sighs. Solheim may have introduced their own tweaked versions in the beginning, but the groves have and still are affecting them. Affecting them how? It's hard to tell without samples of fully grown mushrooms. She meets your eye, and herein lies our problem. She moves to another desk where two strays sit side by side. The first contains nothing but plant mulch. The second you smell before you even look at it. The pungent aroma of the fruiting matsutake like rotting, sodden overalls laced with an edge of spice. The matsutake here are grown from Solheim stock, pulled from a spore vault in this complex. She winks. They are delicious, by the way. She sets them aside. The empty tray is germinated with the spores you collected. No activity, no germination, nothing. But the groves are full. Yes, they are. Rico looks at you directly, and you suddenly realize how much she is enjoying this. So here is our puzzle, Sleeper. Spores from the groves won't grow in a lab. But gathering fruiting bodies from the groves is too unpredictable. We need to grow a fruiting body from some of these spores so we can track it, understand it. In short, I need you to become my mushroom farmer. Actually, I already started. Rico looks impressed. Well, an eager mycologist. I'd never have guessed. I assume you set yourself up in the aviary. I've been eyeing that place up for its proximity to the groves. Bring me whatever grows, not just matsutake. There's more than a couple of variants in there, so I'll need plenty of samples. She plucks a matsutake cap from the tray. These little things are reflections of their condition, their smell, their taste, their chemistry. It all derives from the conditions of their growth. She smells the cap. Enough of these are have a picture of what is happening here, of the way in which this biosphere is modifying itself, or being modified, whichever the case may be. Rico pops the matsutake cap into her mouth, taking you by surprise. And don't worry, Sleeper, she says while softly chewing. If this turns out to be a dead end, I'll make sure that not a single mushroom will go to waste. Okay, that's gonna be it for today, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.